Hello, I'm Clint Walker, and this is Real Estate Appraiser Secrets. And today, we're going to answer the question, how do I know, or how do you know, when you need a pre-listing appraisal? The short answer is, the biggest key to knowing that you need a pre-listing appraisal is one factor. You've got a listing. If you have a listing, you should get a pre-listing appraisal. I'm joking. Sometimes you don't need one. I've said in multiple videos that, sometimes properties are just very simple. Like a townhouse. You've got, and especially a newer townhouse. There's not a lot of factors going in it. There's never been a lot of options for upgrades or improvements. And, the answer is staring you in the face in the comps, right? Really no question about it. Then, but other times, the property has gotten complex, and the property can get complex fast. Say that you have, let's talk about the townhome situation. When, take the easiest thing that you could potentially have to price or sell, which is a townhouse, and let's think about when it might get complicated. So say you've got an older townhouse development, and say these units are 35 or 40 years old, and yours has been updated and a lot of the other ones have not. Maybe yours has been updated to a level of quality that's uncommon in the development. And so, you might have other townhouse sales in the development that have been updated but just aren't really as nice as yours. How do you handle that? Maybe yours has been updated with new bathrooms, but it's got an original kitchen. Or maybe it's got the original kitchen but new bathrooms. How do you handle that? Maybe what else can people do to townhouses? Maybe you've got a 2-bedroom townhouse and all you've got is 3-bedroom townhouse comparables, or the opposite. How do you handle that? Even in the most simple scenario, or even the most simple type of property, those are good examples of when an appraiser might be able to help you. And the other good news is that, when the property type is not complicated or fairly simple to you, it's probably going to feel fairly simple to your appraiser, and they can maybe do something for you a little cheaper than on a complex property. So let's talk about the other properties that are out there. If you have, let's say you've got a property on Acreage, maybe the house is fairly basic. Maybe it's just a 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch house that's in good condition. But you've got this acreage factor, okay? Maybe you've got 8 acres and everything else has got 5, or you've got 8 and everything's got 12. I think maybe one of the more common things I see is yours has 2 or 3 and everything else has 5, because 5 is a very common amount of acreage in some counties. These things, acreage, the value of additional acreage on your listing, these things don't increase or decrease in a linear fashion. So if you're looking at land sales and you see things sell for $75,000 an acre, that doesn't mean that the next acre also sells for $75,000 and the next acre sells for $75,000. That is more similar to looking at improved properties on a price per square foot of the dwelling basis. You get diminishing returns on the land. So there again, an appraiser, that is exactly what an appraiser is there to do, is to figure out what that diminishing return is, and how what the value of each additional acre is. So maybe you need an appraisal then. Maybe your listing has a basement, and a basement is maybe the biggest red flag that you need an appraisal. They are just As an appraiser, I don't like dealing with them. And as an appraiser, I like dealing with them less than I do as an agent. I think they're maybe easier to me as an agent because people find them attractive and they find them useful. But how does that translate into value is the really hard question. And that's the question that the appraiser has to rack their brain and spend hours and hours to try to answer. So if you got a basement, you definitely need to be thinking about getting an appraisal. Maybe you've got an attached dwelling unit or a detached dwelling unit or some sort of finished space that's not attached to the main part of the house. Again, that's sort of the same scenario as a basement. It is tough to find the value of those things for lots of different reasons, and an appraiser can help you. What else? What else goes on with these houses? Obviously, the partial updates. Maybe you've got a simple property, and because as it has, the market being what it's been the past 2 or 3 years now, there just aren't comps. And so now your property that is otherwise completely simple still has no comparable properties to look at, to choose from. And you're thinking that maybe you've got to go back in time 24 or 36 months to find a similar sale. You probably need an appraisal. We have to do that a lot right now for pre-listing stuff. I'll tell you what, I had one the other day that this agent, she knew she needed an appraisal, but she still didn't get what she expected to get. So it was a raw land listing, and it was 2 separate parcels, and one was very small, and she knew that one was zoned commercial. And I'm a residential appraiser, so if you call me about something commercial, I'm going to refer you to a commercial appraiser. So she knew that I couldn't help her with one of them, but she had this other 8 acres that was next to it that she thought was residential. It actually had several mobile homes on it. So she called me to an appraisal on that 8 acres, and excuse me, when I did my first preliminary analysis, I could just look at the overhead view of it, how it was sitting on a main road and how it had a lot of road frontage, and also the fact that it had 4 dwellings on one piece of land. That was an immediate clue to me that I should look at the zoning of this property. She thought it was zoned residential. So I pulled up the county zoning on it, and on the county zoning, a part of it was zoned residential, but what it looked like to me was this property was originally multiple properties that at some point had been combined, but it didn't look like the zoning for all the properties that had been combined had been mashed into one zoning as of 2025. Okay, so there was a portion of the 8 acres that was residential, but there was also a portion of 8 acres that was commercial. And so that to me is immediately a red flag that I, as a residential appraiser, should not do this, because when we start looking at the highest and best use, it's probably going to be to take this property back to commercial, or that a part of it is still commercial and there may be some sort of commercial application there. So without this agent having to pay me a dime, I got on the phone with her. We spent about 30 minutes talking about the potential for this and some steps that she could take to hash this out for her clients, to give them the best service and potentially way more money than they ever expected they could get out of this, just because she answered for herself the question, maybe I need a pre-listing appraisal on this land that otherwise doesn't seem extremely complicated. It's just 8 acres. So there are lots of different good reasons that you might need an appraisal, and here is the best one. This is one I was talking to one of my investor clients about the other day. He's my real estate agency client, and so he gets a lot of my appraisal skill set just by virtue of working with me as an agent. But we talked about his deals where I'm only going to be the agent on it, and I don't really stand to gain anything but a listing, and I do these things for him for a flat fee, so really it doesn't even ultimately affect me where his price lands on these things. So we're talking about it, and in the course of that conversation, he's telling me, he's like, man, it just helps me so much to kick these ideas around with you and to get your input on these things. He said, I don't know why it makes me feel so much better. And I told him, I know the answer to this because I feel this answer in my own investing. The reason it is so helpful to him to have my input on these things, especially in the context of our listing arrangement, is that I am objective. He is getting an objective perspective on his deal before he ever does it. And I can tell you, as an investor, I know in my own work that objectivity is so valuable, because as soon as your money is on the line, you lose all of that. I lose all of it in my own deals when I'm looking at what I can possibly get out of building on this property or renovating this property. I can't be objective. I just start to see these pie in the sky dreams of what this property might be. And so, going back to the original part, going back to the beginning of this video, when I said the way you know that you need a pre-listing appraisal is that you've got a listing, it's because I think that I'm joking about that, but also you could use an objective set of eyes on every single one, because even as agents, we care about our clients and want to get the very best for them every single time. And that compromises our objectivity, even as their agents, even our ability to deliver objective advice within our set of skills gets compromised. There's nothing wrong with that. As agents, we are supposed to be advocates for these people who hire us. But your appraiser will never be an advocate. They will always be objective. That is their job, and that is a requirement upon them legally, that they have to be objective. If they can't be objective, they have to excuse themselves from the assignment. And I think that I know that is a valuable role to play in any situation. So I hope that's helpful to you. If we can ever be of service to you, giving you some objective insight on your property, we would love to do that. You can go to truepointappraisals.com and schedule your pre-listing appraisal today. You can get a professional measurement, get some objective, factual insight into what your square footage of the property is going to be, and we can do consultations. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it as always. Love it if you liked and subscribed, and I will catch you next week.